Hi, welcome back. So recently I had an issue with my Kenmore front load dryer. It basically stopped producing heat, so was essentially useless. In this video, I'll show you the steps that I took to resolve this issue, and maybe it will help you with a similar issue that you may be experiencing. I've had this Kenmore dryer for over 20 years now, and when it works great. These Kenmore dryers were originally sold in Sears department stores, which are no longer around. They are actually rebranded appliances, so a lot of the replacement parts will be for brands like Whirlpool or LG. I'll show you what I mean later on in the video. When troubleshooting this issue, the first thing I did was testing the various switches and fuses that control the dryer. To access the fuses, the first thing I did, and the very most important step, is to unplug the power cord for the dryer. Once the dryer was unplugged, I shifted it around so that I could access the rear panel. I'll then disconnect the dryer hose, and while I have the hose off, I'm checking to make sure it's not clogged, because a clogged hose can cause the dryer not to heat. I'm actually replacing this hose with a more tear-resistant hose, which I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. I then remove the back panel of the dryer, which is held in by several 1/4-inch bolts along the edge of this metal panel. Be careful when pulling this panel off because the edges are very sharp. So here's a view of the back of this dryer and all the switches and fuses. If you have a different brand, it may look similar to this. This switch up here is the high heat thermal cutoff. It's a safety mechanism and it prevents the dryer from overheating. This next switch is the dryer thermostat, and it ensures the temperature inside the dryer's housing doesn't exceed a certain threshold. This white one here is a thermal fuse, and it's designed to prevent fires by shutting off the dryer if it overheats. And this last one is the cycle thermostat, which also monitors the heat, and it turns the heating element on and off during the drying process. To test each of these switches and fuses, I'll take a multimeter and set it to resistance, which is indicated by the ohm symbol, and I'll also set it to beep, which is indicated by an audio symbol, so that I can test the continuity of the switches. If any of these switches are bad, there will be a break in the circuit. To test the continuity, I'll remove one wire from each switch and test that switch using the multimeter. If I hear an audible beep and there's a number reading showing on the multimeter, that tells me that the switch is good. If there is no audible beep or no number on the multimeter, it tells me that the switch is bad and needs to be replaced. So let's start from the top with the high heat thermal cutoff. I'm going to remove one wire and then test the switch's continuity. You can hear the beep and the number reading on the multimeter, which tells me that this switch is good. I'll work my way down to this next one, which is the dryer thermostat. If this one is bad, it could indicate either that the thermostat is bad or possibly the heating element is bad. Using the multimeter, this tested out good. The next two, which is the thermal fuse and cycle thermostat, both tested out good as well. Now that I've tested all the fuses and thermostats, the last piece of the puzzle is to test the dryer timer. The dryer timer utilizes moisture sensors to determine the length of time the dryer should run for the drying cycle. The internal components of this timer will eventually go bad and the whole timer will need to be replaced. To test the timer, it will be similar to what we did earlier in the video with the fuses and switches. First, remove this top rear panel to access the timer's connections. I'm looking for the red and black wires, in which I'll remove one of the wires and test similar to what I did earlier. I'll make sure to turn the dial of the timer before testing. As you can see, the continuity test failed with this timer, which indicates it is time to replace it. Now here's how I found the replacement part. First, you'll need to know the make and model number of the dryer. For my dryer, it was located on the inside part of the door jamb, as you can see here. This right here is the model number. I took that information, and there are many sites out there where you'd be able to find the replacement parts. Even Amazon has them. But generally speaking, you want to be careful because there are a lot of cheaper brands out there selling these replacement parts. For these dryers, it's best to get genuine OEM parts. I personally like partselect.com, as they have a wide range of OEM parts for many makes and models of these dryers. On the homepage of partselect.com, you'll see a Find Your Part field. I'm just going to enter that model number of the dryer and click Search. It brings up a nice layout that shows different sections of the dryer, as well as the manuals and care guides that you can download if you want. I'm just going to scroll down and you can see all the various parts for this specific dryer. I'll search for timer in this field here. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, this dryer is branded as a Kenmore, but technically it is a Whirlpool, and this rebranding was something Kenmore and Sears did a lot of for various appliances. So this timer is an OEM Whirlpool timer, and you can see it is a bit expensive because it is an OEM part. If I were to search Google for this manufacturer part number, it will bring up cheaper brands, but you'd be taking a risk getting parts that are not OEM. After getting the part in hand, I'm just going to do a quick test of the part to make sure it's working. Keep in mind, you'll need to reuse the dryer knob from the old timer. I turned the knob on the new timer and the continuity test worked fine. Next, I'll disconnect the old timer by unbolting it from the panel. Now I'll put the new timer in and bolt it to the panel. So now I have the old timer and new timer side by side. It's easy just to remove the wires from the old timer and transfer it to the new timer. The terminals are labeled with what color should be attached. For example, WB is white and black, OR is orange, and V is violet. After getting the wires attached to the new timer, I'm just going to do a quick double check on all the wires for the timer, fuses, and switches. And for testing's sake, I'm just going to plug in the power and turn on the dryer to make sure the heating element turns on. Looks good, and the dryer is now finally heating. To be safe, I'll disconnect the power again before reattaching the rear panels. One thing to do before wrapping this up is to vacuum and wipe down the inside area of the dryer just so that it's clean. Last step is to reattach the back panels and make sure you reconnect the hose as well. So I hope this video helps you out. If you have any questions, please do leave it in the comment section below. I'll leave links to some of the tools I used as well as the parts website in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.